lot of times we overlook the idea that Jesus was pretty radical, is pretty touchy to talk about, honestly, a lot of times, but it's also super fun to talk about. If someone slaps you on the right cheek, Jesus tells us to turn to them our left cheek. Jesus then goes on to say that if someone sues us and tries to take our shirt, then we should give them our coat as well. Then he says that if someone forces you to walk 1 mile, then you should walk 1 more mile with them. This particular section here is talking about Roman guards and essentially the rule saying that they can force you to carry their bags for 1 mile, and then that's it. Jesus tells us these things as a way of accomplishing a couple things. If you look at the 3 examples used in this passage, right, the first one, if somebody slaps you on the cheek, give them another opportunity to hopefully recognize the fact that what they're doing is wrong. So then you look at this idea of somebody suing you for your shirt, and then you give them your coat as well. And the idea here is that if somebody's suing you for your shirt and you give them your coat, that's another opportunity for them to sort of think about is it worth suing this person for their clothes, for the shirt off of their back. And then there's the idea of going an extra mile with a Roman soldier. This one's really fun to me because it's pretty bold and it's really humbling for both parties, right? So if you're the person that's carrying the bags for the Roman soldier, the idea of taking that much more energy and suffering that much more for somebody who is essentially your enemy, who's persecuting you and doing terrible things to you, is sort of far out. It's humbling for the Roman guard too, because they're not allowed to force you to go another mile. And the idea of somebody that you're persecuting turning around and voluntarily serving you is crazier than you serving somebody that's persecuting you, right? I love this because it's so relevant to some of the things that are going on in the world right now. So if you look at, for example, some of the violence from and towards the police, think about how differently people would react if they referenced that passage in Matthew. Humbled yourself enough to just say, all right, if this is how you want to treat me, then treat me this way. It's really sort of countercultural, counterintuitive to what is so interwoven into the DNA of our society. And I don't know how to implement this. I don't know how to really get people to think that way. But what I do know is that it's in the Bible and that Jesus tells us to act that way. I believe that as Christians, we are called to live our life by what Jesus tells us. Jesus has some pretty awesome teachings, and it's crazy to me that people can't get on board with that, whether you're Christian or not, right? The idea of peace and having peace in society and loving your neighbor, loving your enemy is really countercultural, and it's really crazy to think about, but how can you not be on board with that? Maybe I'm biased, I don't know.